Hi everyone, this is Igor from Vinous Reverie, and this is everyone's favorite time of the week, watching me opening boxes. Today it's important because we're opening wooden boxes, so you know the wines in these boxes, they got to be good. And it's actually Bordeaux wines. So if you guys are familiar with wine, Bordeaux is probably the most famous name in the wine world. Kind of give you a little overview about Bordeaux. It's dominated by Gironde River that flows into Dordogne and to Garonne rivers. So it's like a bigger river separates into two smaller rivers. And the left bank of the river, it's dominated by Cabernet Sauvignon wines, whereas the right bank of the river is dominated by Merlot and Cabernet Franc wines. Some of the most famous communes in the left bank are Saint-Estèphe, Pauillac, Saint-Julien, whereas on the right-hand bank, it would be Saint-Emilion or Pomerol. So today, you know, we're gonna open up. Some of these wines are from both sides of the river, both banks, and the idea behind these wines is they're all great value wines from Bordeaux. Doesn't mean they're all cheap. They just mean that they're good values. And kind of with Bordeaux, the price range is all over the place. You know, you have wines that you can find relatively cheap and wines that cost thousands of dollars. And just because something is relatively cheap doesn't mean it's not that good. Versus if something's super expensive doesn't mean it's necessarily that great either. It's kind of sometimes it's being carried by its reputation. So let's get to the opening. The first one. Yeah, it's already opened. All right. Okay, so the first wine is Chateau from Bruges. This is from Saint-Emilion, so it's mostly Merlot-based wine. Really nice wine. You know, it got 93 points from Wine Enthusiast, and you know, we're definitely gonna retail it in a $40 range, which I think is a pretty good price point for a wine of this high quality. All right. Okay, let's jump to the next one. All right. Oh, so this is La Dame de Montrose from Saint-Estèphe. So Saint-Estèphe is on the left bank, and Montrose is actually a second growth Bordeaux. But La Dame, it's a second wine. So it's the second wine of the second growth. Once again, you know, got good press. You know, mid-90s from several critics, and you know, I think it's a good example of you know, a wine that's made by a second growth Bordeaux winemaker. So really nice wine. All right. Right here. Kind of could be a little dangerous with a lot of nails sticking out of these wooden boxes. If you're going to be charging premium prices, it's got to look good. All right. Okay. Chateau Cabern, also from Saint-Estèphe, so it's a Cabernet Sauvignon dominated wine. This is always an underachiever. This is a wine that gets high scores and typically retails below $30. It's a great quality Cabernet. got a couple more wooden boxes here. All right, this is from Lalande from Saint Julien. Once again, a Cabernet Sauvignon dominated wine. Saint Julien, it's a small commune, but it makes very nice long aged cab based wines. So it's a wine you could put down for some time. This is a 2016 vintage, or if you're gonna have it immediately, let it open up. But once again, these are great value wines. Majority of these wines retail $50. In some cases, way below 50. So, all right, one more. Okay, and the third wine we have from Saint Estep, Chateau Menet. This wine, once again, also underachiever. We're going to retail it for $50, but it got tremendous scores. Jessis Robinson, who we really like, she gave this wine 18.5 points, which is an extremely high score for her for a wine at this price point. Usually, wines that get 18 points plus from Bordeaux retail in hundreds of dollars. So $50, I definitely think it's a great value wine. All right, we got one more box. All right, this is Domaine des Chevaliers from Pessac, Léognan, left bank once again, Cabernet dominated wine. This is the only wine that's actually retails above 50. But this is a great producer. I mean, this we're gonna retail is below $100, and in some vintages, this wine retails easily in 130, 140. So 2014, it's not considered a great vintage, but this wine itself got great scores. Vinous magazine gave it 96 points. Wine Enthusiast gave it 95 points. Jessis Robinson gave it 17.5 points. So we got great scores all around. So I think off vintage, this was a great wine. All right, we're done with the wooden boxes. But we have a couple of more Bordeaux's. And these are actually great, exciting values. So the first wine is going to be from Chateau Margaux. Now this wine is going to retail below $20. So the price point doesn't necessarily mean that it's spectacular wine, but there's an interesting backstory behind this wine. So this is wine made by Pierre Lurton. If you're not familiar with that name, he's also associated with Chateau d'Yquem, which is considered the greatest dessert wine in the world from Sauternes. And he's also associated with Chateau Cheval Blanc, which, if you guys are not familiar, many wine professionals considered the 1947 vintage of Cheval Blanc to be the greatest wine of the century. So, it's high accolades for those two houses. And this is his kind of, like a pet project, so to speak. Like I said, this is going to retail below $20 versus Chateau d'Yquem retails for $400 in the same vintage. And Cheval Blanc is retailing for $800 for the same vintage. So, you can gotta get his expertise hands at a everyday price point. So I think this is spectacular value. And we have one more, which is also a spectacular value. It might be actually the most exciting wine that I have in the store. So this wine, it's called El Heter, and it's made by Jacques Thiepont. And kind of the same backstory as with the Margaux wine. He's more famous for a famous Pomerol wine, Le Pin. And just to give you a perspective, the same vintage of Le Pin is going for $2,000 right now. we're going to be retailing this wine in mid-20s. And this one got great scores. Julia Hardin from JensenRobinson.com put this as wine of the week, and she gave it 17 points, which I think is a great score for a wine, for Bordeaux wine made by a world-class winemaker. And the other little tidbit about this wine, which is very exciting, is that we at Vinous Reverie are the only outlet in Bay Area to carry this wine. So, you know, if you guys want to try a great wine at a great price point, I think this is the wine to get. Like I said, all the Bordeaux that we opened up, great wines, great value points. I think, you know, if you're going to try some of the most premium wines in the world, I think we got them right here. You just saw them being opened up. So the next step is, you know, is to look them up and to get them. All right, thank you guys. I'll talk to you next time.